with the rack pigeon walk, the basis of the whole movement is a yoga pose called a pigeon. And so you'll notice the way that we use it with the load of the kettlebell is quite demanding on the hips. And because you're holding a load, we have to make sure that the spine is supported and you're not loading up your lower back. So it requires a slightly different variation on the pigeon pose than what most people might be familiar with. So the pigeon pose, a lot of times, will look like this. Now, the only problem with using a kettlebell in this position is that you'll see my lower back has a pretty good arch in it. So what we're going to do to modify the pigeon pose is that I'm going to draw the rear leg in more, and I'm going to tuck my hips under to keep my spine vertical. This makes us not quite as low, and it really forces the front of the rear hip open. This is the variation we're going to use for the pigeon pose to keep the spine safe and strong. It's going to require a good amount of core strength and a good amount of awareness in the hips and the core. Now, to start putting the pigeon into motion, we want to make sure we're not doing anything too extreme. We're not going to add a load yet. We just need to be able to find the position that we're going to need to be in frequently, and then also require our hips to be moving through a certain degree of range of motion and be able to adjust. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with knees to chest. Okay, knees to chest. We're going to drop our knees over to one side. This is called a shin box. We've got a right angle at the knees. One shin forms one side of the box, the other shin, the other half of the box here. Now all we're going to do is we're going to place our hands down in front of the front shin, extend the rear leg. Okay? As we extend the rear leg, we're going to turn over to the top of your foot and tuck the hips under to lift the hips slightly higher than what a traditional pigeon would be. Tuck the hips under, try to keep the spine tall, long. Okay? Now from here, you're going to drop over to the hip, bring the knee in, transition to the opposite side. So you can use your hands for support or use no hands. If you have the coordination and strength to be able to do so, it's a better way of going. From here, extend the rear leg back and turn over to the top of the foot. From here, you'll notice your back wants to arch, so you have to correct by tucking the hips under and imagine holding the rack kettlebells. Hip down, bring the rear knee in, switch over to the opposite side, and repeat. You're going to continue going back and forth and working in and out of this modified pigeon pose to start working towards that rack pigeon walk.